What is up with all of the payroll accounts on my chart of accounts, profit and loss reports, balance sheet? What's with all these different accounts in my accounting software? Please let me explain. So, when you process payroll in an accounting software, whether it be MYOB, QuickBooks Online, or Xero, or pretty much any of them, certain things happen. And they all have slightly different names and some have slight variations to this, but generally what happens is you press finalize or approve or whatever is going to be the terminology in your accounting software to say, yep, all done, lock it in. And it goes boop, 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 and fires off all these numbers into the correct spot for you. Now, and try not to lose you here, there is generally a payroll expense account, and this is the gross wages from that pay run. All your pay runs will end up in the payroll expense account on the date of that pay run. Adds to it. That way, when you run your profit and loss report, you'll see your total wages that are applicable for that period. And that will be your gross wages, meaning that's the total wages before any tax was taken out or anything else. That's your gross wages. That was the expense for that period that you're looking at. Similarly, on the profit and loss reports and such, there'll be a superannuation expense report or expense account on that report. And this is the total amount of superannuation from the pay run for that period that you're looking at on that report. And all pay runs will pop this information straight into there for you. And you never allocate anything to these accounts. I'm laughing because you're gonna. One day, if you haven't already, you're gonna. Everybody does. It's okay. Like, really experienced office managers and business owners and people who've been doing this forever. I've seen bookkeepers and accountants make these errors. Happens. But not you, because I'm telling you now, and so you won't, right? Now, you don't need to allocate anything to these accounts physically. These are accounting software accounts that will allocate it there for you. I'm going to think if there's anything I can think of that would be a difference. Really don't think so. No. I'm sure maybe there's some scenario out there that maybe if you have to manually enter a pay run, okay, that's the one time. You have to, if for some reason it wasn't recorded, you have to manually enter maybe an opening balance, or for whatever reason it didn't get processed right and you need to manually enter it in this software, fine. Then you touch those accounts. But otherwise, you never allocate anything to the payroll or wages expense account or the super expense account when you're coding payments and transactions and stuff. What you will code things to, and I'll stop pointing my finger at you, sorry, you will code to is the liability accounts. So at the same time that you've gone boop, 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 because you've approved your pay run, it's gone poof to where it needs to go. It goes to those expense accounts, but that amount that went to your payroll expense account, it goes shoo, and it puts a certain amount, the right amount, into your wages payable liability account, and the certain amount applicable into your pay-as-you-go withholding account. So like the tax that you've withheld from all the employees, adds it all up, sticks it in the pay-as-you-go account, and sticks the net wages, how much you actually are supposed to pay your employees for that period, into the wages payable account. And put that over there. puts the superannuation amount into a superannuation payable account. So you've got these 3 payable accounts sitting there. You might have slightly different names in your accounting software. They might not say payable, but they'll be liability accounts. A wages one, pay-as-you-go withholding one, and a super one. These are ones that you actually utilize. Now, when you pay wages to your employees, you mark that to the wages payable account, because all of these accounts are sitting there saying, hey, don't forget, you need to pay these amounts, or there's a discrepancy about what has been paid and what hasn't been paid. Come check it out here. So wages from the payroll system will be sitting there in the wages payable. You make a payment, it now is 0. We want these accounts to be 0. We want all of them to be 0, because that means we are paid everything that we're supposed to have paid. But depending on the date and when a pay run ends and the date you make payment and the report dates that you're looking at, it might have a variance. But as long as that variance makes sense because of a pending pay run or pending payment, it's okay. So we've got our wages, though, have married up with wages you paid the employees. And when you pay your superannuation, that guy's sitting over here, you make your superannuation payments, it will go back to 0. And then when you do your BAS, whether it's quarterly or monthly, if you do IAS installment activity statements or business activity statements, whichever they are, when you pay that, there'll be a pay-as-you-go withholding in those, and that portion of your BAS or IAS statement gets allocated to your pay-as-you-go withholding account, goes back to 0. So those are the ones you're allowed to touch. You're not allowed to touch the expense accounts, right? You promise? Sorry, I'll stop pointing. That's rude. Okay, that's your payroll accounts. Hope that helps.